Tonight's featured reader is Jennifer Richter. Jennifer's third poetry collection, Dear Future, was chosen by Felicia Zamora as winner of the 10th Gate Prize for Mid-Career Poets and was released in May 2024. Her earlier collections, Threshold and No Acute Distress, were both named Oregon Book Award Finalists. For the past 13 years, Richter taught in Oregon State's MFA program. So here is Jennifer Richter.
All right, this needs to be lower for me, I think. How's that? Okay. Mark, thank you for having me, hosting me. Thank you to Eleanor, who suggested me. Eleanor continues to welcome this book into the world so warmly, and I'm so grateful. Eleanor knows that I think of her fondly as a benevolent force of nature. And I'm glad to be on Team Eleanor. And I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for all coming. And I look forward to hearing your work in a little bit. So this book is similar to my first two in that it's about identity. It's about my identity as a mom, as a daughter, as a wife. Our children, Luke and Chloe, are grown now. They both live up in Portland. But I thought I'd start with a poem about them when they were teeny people. It was such a beautiful drive up here and such a gorgeous day that this one occurred to me to read first because of the weather. It's called Here Comes the Sun. First, they floated weightless in me. Then they were out, bouncing around and planting flags. They slept above us when they slept. We'd say, okay, darling, but it's not yet morning, see? Scientists talk about light like a child, how it behaves. Out the space shuttle window, the sun rises 16 times a day. NASA broadcasts songs to say, okay, now you can get up. When they slept above us, we'd wake to their singing. It seems like years since they've been here. We'd take turns waiting with them for light in the sky, and I'd say, it's all right, sometimes 16 times a day. I talk to my students about first poems in collections. My grad students are pulling their own theses together and organizing their poems, and I ask them to think about the first poem of a collection as a doorway or a portal, a kind of invitation into the work, and also an introduction to the poet's voice and obsessions. And I didn't know it fully at the time as I was writing this, but it's very clear to me now that the first poem in Dear Future reveals my three main obsessions in the book, which are kids, catastrophes, and cats. And this poem is titled after a viral Twitter thread. The first poem in the book. It's called Trending. Seismologist explains how to make an earthquake early warning system with cats. Lately, I have more cats in my cloud than kids. In real life, 2 kids, no cats. But now, no kids at home, so cats are how we stay in touch. If their phones ring, they huff, Mom, why are you calling? But when I text my son a tabby and a taco bow tie, he texts right back, maybe a chonky ginger. And I know he's okay. That's a thumbs up for today. Since the kids left, I've been using cats to predict disaster. As the seismologist says, it's tricky. You'd think cats parkouring through kitchens, crashing, trashing everything would mean it's all falling apart. You'd think a cat reeling with cheese stuck to its face might be a cry for help. But when he sends those, I know my son's actually actually laughing. That day, my daughter had a fever and a French final. I texted, "You're the best," with a mustached munchkin. She sent back a show-posed golden Persian. Someone had captioned, "Yo, for real? This cat looks like the grandfather of a croissant. How is it only 16th best?" Ha, I thought, okay, she's okay. When they don't respond, I'm suddenly back in a too quiet house with toddlers. I worry if one sends the same meme 2 days in a row. What's so distracting? I worry getting bursts of Norwegian forest cats in the snow from my son. It's tricky. You'd think all those dreamy scenes might mean he'd found a little peace this week. But the last winter he lived at home, it vanished. The neighbor's cat, with ears like that, slept only on our deck, only ever let my son get close. Then one day left, no warning, just didn't come back. That winter, my friend left too. You never know, seismologists agree. Meanwhile, we chase hints of what and when, like red laser dots we won't ever pin down. A guy online actually analyzed 1,000 cookie fortunes, found very few use predictive language. Mostly, they offer random observations about you, like my daughter. When I visit her, "Wow, Mom," at my outfit means either the hard-eyed cat emoji or the crying one. Now, my son texts kittens spilled from a takeout box, rice like snow on their noses. My friend's hands on my body used to shake with jolts that rose, he said, from deep beneath his feet. "Okay, you'll be okay," he said. "Anyone can heal anyone." Then pointed to a shadowed corner, sighing, "Oh, look at all their wings." So I squinted like I do at my phone now, at one of the sticky, snarling kittens chewing a fortune. "You are surrounded by angels," it says. "Wow, Mom," they'd say if my kids saw me always staring at my dark screen like that corner. "Look," I'd say, "I'm okay. Every day, you light it up." This collection, the one-sentence version I've come up with to talk about what this book is about, is that it's a portrait of the ways that we meaning individuals, we as families, we as communities, cycle through periods of shattering and healing. One of the shatterings at the heart of the book is the devastating effect of living with depression and anxiety. It's a struggle that my colleagues and I have seen in so many of our students, continue to. It's a struggle that my own body knows, and it's a very recent struggle for our son. This poem is called "Everywhere We Go, People Want to Know." Everywhere we go, people want to know how he's doing. And because we don't have a new answer or a 2-second true answer we can bear to admit, we mostly don't go anywhere. Mostly we've been watching the Cedar Show all week across the street. 3 huge trees, dangling orange men, total chainsaw circus. We used to picnic by any construction site we could find. Crackers, juice boxes, his stuffed animals propped up, facing the scrape, roar, dump, and lurch of dust. Today, a kindergarten class comes to watch. I hear them first, chanting over the machinery's racket. "We are the geckos, we are the geckos, mighty, mighty geckos, mighty, mighty geckos." He used to love that picture book. Gecko hero licking dust off its own eyeball. I love their tiny voices shouting mighty, shouting, "You can talk yourself into being brave. Just use your words, your outside voice." I've started hearing everything as a message. In the lopped-off trunks, the neighbor's tree house is a little ark, snagged and dry above the waterline. In bed each night, we clutch each other, steady ourselves on the rocking deck. Below us, our sleepless son thrashes like an animal we didn't dream we'd be at sea this long, didn't dream he might always struggle to stay above the dark, dark waves. My heart sinking, my heart racing. I'll always be listening like prey for sounds of what's coming, a warning, a voice. Noah was given years to prepare and exact plans. This number of cubits equals your family will all be fine. But all this morning's headlines offer me is a rule of thumb. If you see a tsunami, it's too late to outrun it. The new siren drills in our town a comfort. Let's practice not panicking. Let's keep looking for signs. The new ones at low points on the coast are blue cartoons, an open-mouthed huge wave and stick figure scrambling away. We used to chant, "Good job," at everything he did without our help. First, he learned to cry himself to sleep. We used to follow what the book said. Turns out that works. He's still really good at it, and we're still standing outside his door, listening, silently crying. Some books call his pain a journey he has to take alone, but the chirping geckos hand in hand on the sidewalk are counting off by twos. Noah did what the voice said. Good job, it said. To save them, pair them up. I feel like we've all had to find ways to consciously distract ourselves lately, certainly from the pandemic, also from politics, also to stresses closer to home. One of my strategies for a while that maybe we've done as well was watching a live stream of brown bears in Alaska. It's so incredibly entertaining and gripping, and also surprisingly social because, as you may know, YouTube incorporates this chat feature. So there are thousands of people watching at the same time, and they can all be responding at once to what's happening on the camera, but also responding to each other. And this is a poem that came from that experience, and it's called "Imagine That." I need this plus I'm good at getting this equals I got this. So many people I love don't know what to do. Me neither. So I watched live coverage of a bear catching salmon in Alaska. 2.1K watching too, also commenting. So I know his name is Otis, and this is his spot, his office, someone calls it. Otis scans the surface churn and waits. Surely he's starving. That's 4 in 10 minutes. But he doesn't panic. Go, bear, go, someone says, as Otis pounces in slow-mo. Like a boss, another says. Snorkel, 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 when Otis sinks his snout, then nom, nom, nom to his sparkly, squirming mouthful. A new viewer says, once in a play, my son was called Juicy Salmon number 2, and the chat erupts with laugh-crying emojis. When my son calls, his cried-out voice sounds underwater. If only he could feel for a while whatever he wants swimming towards him. So much of it that he'd need a break, like our Otis, splayed in the shallows. He just reached out and snagged one. Hi, everybody, someone says. It's so nice knowing people are around. Suddenly, the chat stops scrolling, not sure which yellow face to click. We made a deal. My son can answer me with a single emoji. My question is always, are you still around? He didn't mean to die. My friends' husbands left their TV on, like this rushing white water, like late night static also gone, like the sound that quit helping me sleep. It's a struggle just to keep going. I know so many, like my son, feel caught in the jaws of something larger. This next one, I'm happy to be surrounded by this art. The next one I wrote after reading about a Vermeer painting. You might have heard this relatively recently, in the last few years. The painting is called Girl Reading a Letter at an Open Window. And in the process of restoring it, the conservator found there was a big blank wall behind this girl. And they found in restoring it, hidden under layers of paint, a giant painted figure of Cupid, the god of love. So I was fascinated by that, and I wrote this poem. It's about the early mistakes that I made in relationships and my realization that my daughter would have to learn those lessons herself. The poem is called Under the Surface. I want to be remembered most for making our daughter and son. They're masterpieces we've been admiring in our home for years. The diffused glow of their curls, their cheeks radiant as Vermeer's girl reading a window-lit letter like ours on her illuminated screen. Same indecipherable expression, both girls scanning for words they want from anyone not their mom, hovering right there. Cupid's got her back. The winged god staring at me, bow in hand, mask underfoot, a giant defiant toddler standing on his toys, refusing to give up on me years ago when I loved a boy for sharing his sailboat, his cars, his family's estate, where his groomed poodle healed as he led me down hushed and dustless hallways. Pausing at every painting, she tilted her head to his docent tone. It's true, there was so much I wasn't seeing. Cupid, it's been ages. I'm so glad you're back. My daughter's weeping again. She's me before you aimed me away from a still life as Vermeer's foregrounded fruit. Upset like that, forever. My God, you know how tough this is to watch. I recognize you're my cue to back out of the picture. I know you know how wrong that feels. So the title, Under the Surface, has a double meaning in this collection. The kind of spark of this book started, I'm sure you know this New Yorker article called The Really Good One. So the idea for this book started taking shape after I read that. One of the, as I mentioned, there are these shatterings in the book. One of the imagined shatterings in the collection comes from that article's prediction for massive earthquakes for the Pacific Northwest. I grew up in Chicago and worried a lot about tornadoes and floods and not a whole lot about earthquakes. And it really wasn't until I moved to the West Coast that it felt that my relationship to earthquakes became more personal. And suddenly I was hearing their devastation measured by my own name. As part of the research for this book, I went to the Caltech archives and spent time with the personal papers of Charles Francis Richter, the creator of the earthquake magnitude scale. I also wanted to find out if we're related, and we're not. Maybe way back in Germany, but not closer. So this next poem is called Over Oregon, the flight attendant asks if I'm interested in water. And its epigraph comes from my time in the archives. I knew I had found the spark. I knew what the book was going to be when I read in handwritten fan mail to Charles Richter, I was wondering how you feel about your name being associated with a disaster. Over Oregon, the flight attendant asks if I'm interested in water, and I nod at his tray of clear cups lined up like a carnival game that won me a fish I named after myself. Oh, like the Richter scale, people say in Oregon, where tsunami trips kids up on spelling tests. Some letters are absurd. They ask the seismologist, which of these states should I move to? But one begins, you're the only other Francis I know. My teacher told me about you. I hate my name because kids joke about it. I don't even have a middle name I can use. What do your friends call you? Do earthquakes scare you like they do me? Yes, thanks. I'm very interested in the unlikely event of water landing on our home 30,000 feet below. When I chose to keep this name, disaster hadn't occurred to me. But here, all children drop, cover, hold on. In school, ours raised their hands to my husband's name. On the first day, the teacher never knew who I belonged to. Their hair matches exactly that class goldfish with alarmed eyes. If something happens, how will strangers help me find them? My name will be useless. My name will be news. For years, that third grade fish has been living, dying, getting replaced overnight, though to the children it's always Charlie. The seismologist's name ended with him, but his carbon-copied reply calls the boy son and uses the word wonder. When ours was lost in the Children's Museum, he looped back to the tsunami tank to methodically stack blocks under a giant timer counting down to the wave that came so close he couldn't hear me calling. One of the wonderful surprises about writing this book was how I got very interested in the language and imagery of seismology, and that gave me a really practically useful way in to write about subjects that I might not have found the words for otherwise, including what feels to me like the very entwined subjects of family and future. This poem is for my husband Keith. It's called Love Poem Grounded in the Seismic Communication of Elephants. So, who do we know that's happily married? You ask in bed tonight after two more dear friends split. We're quiet a while, lie baffled by the largest silence of our lives. No more desk chairs rumbling upstairs, no phones thunked to the hardwood at 2 a.m., slipped from our sleeping children's hands. Empty nest, week 1, I needed noise. At the fair, I bought clay elephants. Artist, age 8. Sold only as a pair. Just like ours, I thought. The smaller one who doesn't miss a thing, its ears like 2 full sails. The other's head tipped and listening, its trunk curled into a question. Our son around that age said, elephants can sense what's coming. Asked if we knew. His best friend's dad had just moved out and left their house a wreck. What's coming is sometimes a tsunami, sometimes the beloved mate's vibration. Nights now, when we touch and shudder, we let our echoes stampede every room. This gray clay couple grown to look alike, of course they're not the kids. Same flat feet as ours, same wrinkly skin, all ears, except our future comes as a constant surprise. Who knew? The elephants' bones conduct the music when they listen. The earth's movement trembles in their toenails, then pulses up their skeleton's vast map to the inner ear, which recognizes the low frequency of natural disaster or lasting love. At the heart of this book is the idea that love, in the face of small-scale and large-scale disasters, is maybe the one equal but opposite force that we can call upon to settle us and save us. This is a poem for our daughter, and it begins with a dream that she had about me. It's called, Years Ago We Told Her It's Okay to Have Some Things That You Don't Share. Slouching groggy down the stairs, she startles when she sees me. Oh wait, Mama, you were an actual ghost next to the bed last night. Like those, what are they called? Holograms? All floaty? But your same robe, same scrunchie, but your hair was actual feathers. Then you just started dissolving. Oh wait, sorry, is this weird for you to hear? And I shake my head, amazed by what she trusts me with, amazed because I hadn't mentioned the robin that burst from our branches when the tree crew got too close. She vanished with one blue egg in her beak. I'd never seen that. I don't expect to know everything, so I looked online. But the chat said no, they don't do that. It's not in their nature. That couldn't have happened. That never happened. Today, she leaves again for the bedroom she started calling home. I know someday a chat room chainsaw voice may try to silence her. I think she knows that whatever she tells me, I'll say, I believe you. Sweetie, I'll always open my mouth for you. And I'd like to read one more, and then I'm excited to hear your work. This is a poem called Love Wave, and That's the name of a seismic surface wave. The epigraph is from Wikipedia, which says, large earthquakes may generate love waves that travel around the earth several times before dissipating. Love wave. Goodbyes and good nights were rough, and preschool drop-offs a total disaster. So we tried a surprise, his own camera to aim at me every time I drove away. He'd click the red button, then press his slick cheek to the window and wave. I was a mess too, until his daily report said basically, Mom, that's not helping. He got checks by, I made good choices. He made their meltdown list just once, left his camera at home, and after that, each bedtime, he'd cinch it to his wrist. I demonstrated problem-solving skills, said his form called today. Hooray, it's today. Every night he'd ask, is tomorrow the weekend yet? He'd ask for time travel stories, just future ones. He just needed help picturing where we were going. He'd always ask, Mom, when you end it, can you end it happy? All of us okay? And can you also please make it true? Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. That was true. Wasn't that terrific? That was great.
I got it.
So, Jennifer's got some books back there. How much are they?
15.
15.
Also, I have these beautiful temporary tattoos that you should take for anybody that would like them. They're so great. My son made them. Yes, all our grad students have them pasted all over their body. So help yourself. They're back there.
So, temporary tattoos and books.
Yep.
There's some cookies back there. Eat the cookies. And we have two lists back there. One's for the open mic, and one is for the mailing list. If you want to be on the mailing list, go and sign up on that one. We'll take a couple of minutes break and then come back to the open mic.
Okay.